Anchors up, sells it full. Welcome to the SloopCast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
You know what, Jared?
Yeah?
I am doing fantastic. Week 1 is upon us here.
It is. This Thursday, we have Know Your Enemy. Know Your Enemy Akron. And this Friday, we have our very first Sloop picks of the season.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. But before we do that, it's a new tradition. It's a good tradition. All right. Got that out of the way.
So today we are going to be doing our yearly over-unders.
Yeah. If you're new here, we do every week before as part of Know Your Enemy. Every week as part of Know Your Enemy, one of our mods, whose name is Austin, and if you've been watching for a long time, Austin has guest hosted on this show in the past as well. He provides us with 10 over-unders for the upcoming game. That being said, at the beginning of the season, he gives us a monster list of over-unders for the entire season. And that's what this episode is. This is the this is the big over under. This is Austin's show. We are just living in it. Austin created an incredible list of overs and unders for us to go through for the start of the season. So
he calls us the over under extravaganza 2024 edition.
Yeah, so let's waste zero more time.
But I do want to say before we go right into this, Jared, Team Chaos is 1-0 already for the season.
Yeah, they are. 2-0 if you count what was just handed down from the NCAA onto Michigan's doorstep.
Yeah. We'll go deep into that just because there's a lot of over-unders that Austin got here, but they have 90 days to respond. And if anybody can do math, that 90th day is the day before the game. So,
hey, Michigan, maybe don't procrastinate on that homework and get it turned in before that. Or don't.
Yep.
Don't take my advice.
I don't care. I don't care for that team up north.
All right, Kyle, let's get into the over-unders.
All right. So he did put a note in here before we started here. All of these stats that he's about to do these over-unders is averages for a 12-game season. So what is it? How many? 16 games is it now? They could play, 17. Well, hold on. So there's 12.
It's the regular season.
Yeah. 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 16. Teams could play. 2 teams will be playing 16 games this year. Potentially.
Well, yeah, because the champion of the conference wouldn't necessarily.
Well, actually, the most of the team could play 17 because if you got one where they're not in a bye week, 17. Oh. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just saying the 2 teams that make the national championship game won't necessarily play in conference title games.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. You know what?
All right.
These are for the 12 regular season games. Let's stay on
right.
on
first
task.
First one here. Of course, it's always about the quarterback, isn't it? Will Howard, interceptions thrown for the year. 6.5.
I'm going under on that. Very seniored quarterback, very experienced quarterback. He has thrown a fair amount of interceptions while at Kansas State.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think he was forced to do more at Kansas State. I don't think he'll be forced to do more at Ohio State. Yeah, I think he has the ability to be. He's not going to have to score 1,000 points like he had to do at Kansas State, and he's going to be able to rely on his wide receivers to make plays and his running backs to make plays more than he had to at Kansas State. So,
yeah,
I'm going to go under here. I think it's like 4 on the season, 4 or 5.
Yeah, I agree. Good number there. 5 is kind of the number I'm thinking of there. He threw 10 last year at Kansas State, but if I'm looking at last year's stats, Kyle McCord threw for 6 interceptions, and Devin Brown did throw 1 interception for a team of 7. But Kyle McCord 6, and I agree with everything that Jared said. I'm not going to ask a whole lot of Will Howard just because of the talent that this offense has here. You give the ball off to your two-headed beasts in the backfield there, and you got some great receivers to easily get the ball to and let them do their work there. Yeah, under.
All right, next question.
Sure. Caleb Downs, forced turnovers, over under 5.5. I'll start this one out. As much as, and deservedly so, as much as we hear about Caleb Downs and how great he is and how much of a game changer he's going to be, our team's going to really try to throw it his way. I really don't think so.
Our team's going to throw it anywhere towards him. No. Forced fumbles do also count. But here's the thing. 6 turnovers forced is a lot. Especially when I'm really working under the assumption that this Ohio State team is going to force a lot of 3 and outs. This team is going to I don't feel like the defense is going to be, I feel like the offense is going to be very run heavy, very eat up the clock. I just don't necessarily see.
So last year as a true freshman at Alabama, he had 3. He forced one fumble and 2 interceptions.
Yeah, and I guess the point is, I don't expect the defense to be on the field that much. 1 and 2, and this is going to be a reoccurring theme for a lot of the individual defensive over-unders. Ryan Day's already said that they're going to rotate the defense a ton to make sure they're still fresh for the postseason and for Michigan. And that 2, when the defense is this stacked, it's hard for any individual player to rack up a bunch of stats.
Yeah, agreed.
If you see a defense where like one guy has twice the number of tackles as the next guy below him, that says more about the other 10 guys than it does about the one guy sometimes. So yeah, I'm going to go under. That's just 6 forced turnovers is a lot for any one player.
That is. All right. Speaking of new shiny folks in the Ohio State locker room here, Jeremiah Smith, 7.5 touchdowns as a true freshman. You know, like it's hard for me to sit here, Jared, and pick the over on this. Just like all the hype is like, ooh, this shiny freshman, he's going to come in here and just absolutely dominate everybody, destroy everybody. Junior, like people who are juniors, seniors, redshirt seniors, transfer seniors, like being able to come in as a 18, 19-year-old and dominate those kind of people. Yeah, he's going to. I'm picking the over.
I agree. I think,
and
we're talking about 12
I say
games.
I say that with a lot of respect because, I mean, there's a lot of talent that Ohio State's going to come up against, but man, just he is a once in a generation type of a wide receiver. Just the way he's built, the way that his physicality is, his size, just absolute monster. Yeah, I'll take the over.
That's totally fair. I agree on the over. I mean, 8 is, I don't think necessarily a lot. for a guy who's expected to be like on the field, you know, a lot. Like he is the starting wide receiver on one side. I don't think you're asking a lot. And I think it's worth noting that it simply says touchdowns here. So if he gets involved in punt or kick return, you know, he could also run a ball in. He could also maybe throw a ball in. I don't know. Like, it doesn't specify here. So I'm counting all touchdowns. 8. I think 8 is a achievable number. I'm going to go over.
Including returns, Jared?
I said that.
Ohio State team sacks is the next one. 37.5. That's a lot. That's a lot. I'm looking at quickly. I'm trying to look at what their stats was as a team last year. I don't know if I can pull that real quick. Probably not real quick. But I'm going to go under. 37.5 just seems like a lot. Here it is. 28. 28 last year.
28 last year. I will say that I think the secondary is going to be better this year. I don't think that's a huge stretch. I think the defense is going to be better this year. Again, I don't think they're going to be on the field a lot. So I think that will hurt things. You're looking at over 3 sacks a game at this number. The book on Ohio State, especially in the Big Ten for a decade now, feels like, you know, avoid getting sacked at all costs. You know, don't hold the ball very long. Big Ten teams don't let Ohio State get sacks. They know they have to get rid of the ball in under 2 seconds. I'm going to go under here as well. Like, it's a 9 sack improvement seems like a huge improvement, but also doable. I mean, I agree it's doable. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's a good number from Austin. It just feels high, especially, like I said, because I don't necessarily expect the defense to have relatively a ton of snaps this year. Like, I just don't think they're going to be on the field all that much. I think they're going to force a lot of 3 and outs. It's hard to rack up a bunch of stats if the other team isn't snapping the ball. You guys also have to keep in mind, for all of these stats, college football games are going to be shorter this year. New clock rules are shortening the games. We're going to see a markdown in individual stats like these. I'm going to be going under a lot because of that.
Yeah.
Last time especially on the defense, I expect, I mean, I don't know how you'd find how many total snaps did the defense play last year for Ohio State? Add in rotation. Yeah, no, don't. Add in, Day saying there's going to be a deeper rotation. Add in the fact that I think those total snaps are going to be reduced by a lot, not just because this defense is going to be so good, although that is a very big reason, but also snaps per game are going to be down across college football this year. We're going to see a bunch of numbers come down to earth a little bit.
Yep. Last time Ohio State got over that 37.5, 2019. And a large thanks of that was because of Chase Young, who had 16.5 that year. He
was not a human being. Low snaps, and teams will probably want to throw quick always. That's the book on Ohio State. Always, always, always.
Shout out to David Hamilton, who had a monster year that year too at defensive tackle. All right. Players with a rushing touchdown. 6.5 players.
So we need to get to 7.
Yeah. 7 players.
Well, hold on. Let's stop and think about this. Let's stop and think about this. You got Will Howard, and I think Devin Brown ends up getting a rushing touchdown at some point this year.
Sure.
You got Trey Judkins. That's 4. You need 4 more. So you could probably throw more. James Peoples in there.
3 more, Jared. I know math's not your strong suit, but
no, I named 4.
Yep, you need 3 more.
Oh, I thought it was 7.5. That's my bad. All right, we need 3 more. So you throw James Peoples in there, you throw Sam William Dixon in there, and then like a random wide receiver rushing touchdown. Like I think it's totally possible. You know, you get some sort of end around or something, a pitch back or something to Emeka, to Ennis, to someone. I think it's totally plausible that something like that happens. I'm still going to go under, but I think I think it's a good number.
Yeah. Yeah. Last year was 6. 2022 was 7. And in 2021, it was 5. So yeah, I'm going to go under. Great number, but I'll go under 6.5 players with a rushing touchdown.
Gangland in the chat points out maybe Sand gets a rushing touchdown as well.
Ohio State doesn't really go. Ohio State doesn't really go deep in the
quarterback rotation
room.
By the way,
yeah,
don't sleep on Keenholz. Like I don't necessarily think Sayan's the 3rd quarterback in, for the record.
All right, next one, Jared. We have Ohio State wins by 15 points or more. 8.5 is the over under. And I had to look at the schedule a couple of times here and going through the games.
I apparently didn't make one for that. That's okay.
Okay.
It's all right.
All right. Let's just go through them and say yes or no. Akron. Okay. Akron, yes.
Sure.
Western Michigan,
yes.
Marshall, yes.
Can I? To me, I think the interesting here is the 4-game run.
Sure.
I'm going to say yes on every single game except that, but I think as long as we just need to look at that 4-game run, because if you have to do it 9 times to win, which means you have 3 times where you can't.
Yep. So let's look at the ranked or let's look at the popular teams here. So home to 25 Iowa, I'm going to say yes.
Weirdly enough, I'm going to say yes too.
Okay.
Iowa's defense is going to be really good this year, but I don't know if it matters.
At Oregon, I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no.
All right, so that's 1. Home to Nebraska. I'm only saying that because they're a big question mark team this year.
Well, so. it also where they sit in Ohio State's schedule.
Yep.
Because it's a part of a really competitive, really tough 4-game run in the middle of the season for Ohio State. We don't know how good Nebraska is going to be. There's a lot of hype, but we really don't know. So Nebraska's a really good maybe. So I'm going to say yes. But
I'm going to say no. I think currently it's going to be a close game. I think Ohio State wins by 10, 12 points or something like that. But I'm going to say no to that one. At Penn State. That's always. I'm
going to say no to that one.
That's always a close game at Happy Valley there. Yeah, I'm going to say no there. And then home to Michigan, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Michigan this year. We'll beat them by more than 15.
Yep. So
it's the 4-game run of Oregon, Iowa, Nebraska, Penn State. I don't think that's the correct order. But that's the 4-game run that I think is key here. And I think that they can win by 15 in 2 of those games, which puts us over the mark for me. Yep. I'm going over.
Yep. I'm saying over as well. Yep. All right. Devin Brown pass attempts at 34.5. It's a lot. He did 28 last year. I'm going under. I'm going under on that.
Yeah, I feel like when he comes in, and I feel like, again, Ryan Day has talked about rotating his players a lot. You know, we might see the second string come in a little bit quicker this year, especially, again, if the defense is good. But I feel like when Devin Brown comes in, he's going to be running the ball a lot. Like, it'll be in clock killing time. So I agree. I'm going to go under.
Yep. All right. All right. Before we go to the next one here, I'm just going to take a quick ad break.
Yeah.
If you want to skip out on all of these ads, head on over to the sloopcast.com where you can catch all of our different links to our YouTube page, to our Discord server, which is discord.thesloopcast.com, our merch store, our 7071 merch store, and all other type of links in there. So again, the Sloopcast.
To specifically skip the ads, you need to sign up for Patreon.
You do.
Patreon.thesloopcast.com.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. With that being said, we'll go ahead and kick off to our ad and we'll be right back.
And we're back. What's the next question, Kyle?
Yes, sir. It is James.
By the way,
Peoples.
I think we skipped one. OSU longest pass completion?
We did. Yes. Ohio State longest pass completion at 75.5 yards.
Here's the thing. You only need to do it once. You only got to do it once, which makes this question kind of interesting. You know, you look to potentially do this. Here's the problem. It has to be over 75 yards, right? Where do you get the ball? Typically, like, you get a touchback or something, right? You get the ball at like the 20.
Mm-hmm.
So like it has to be like that first play. Like I don't know how many opportunities Ohio State's going to have to complete a pass that would be over 75 yards, that would be 76 yards or more. That to me is a big issue here. And when you do get those opportunities, when field position, really starts to factor in, you're going to be playing against better defenses where getting a 76-yard touchdown is going to be considerably harder. That's kind of the crux of the longest play over under, right? How often against Akron because you're going to be dominating the field position game. How many times are you going to get to actually complete a play that long? And then when field position is actually an issue against, say, Oregon or Penn State, that's not those aren't easy teams to get a huge play on.
Yeah. I will say, I'm like going back a number of years here. Ohio State does do that quite often here. Last year, McCord's longest one was 75 yards. And I think there was only a couple of times between 2023 until I went back to 2012. There's only a couple of times Ohio State didn't get more than 75 yards, which funny enough, the lowest or the shortest, longest reception for the year was that 2015 Buckeye team.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'm going to go over. I'll go over, honestly.
Okay. I'm going to end up going over as well, for the record. I know I laid out all the reasons why it's hard to do this, but I'm still going to go over.
Yep. All right. James Peoples carries at 23.5. Ooh.
I'm going to go over simply because of the possibility that someone gets hurt.
Yeah, and there is that possibility. We never want to,
of course,
think about it, but there is that. But also, this is a totally different year where a lot of coaches are going to try to save the legs because players have the potential of playing more games here. You gotta try to maybe not have as many reps here. So it's a blessing to have Judkins on the team here.
Sure.
To help share the load with Trey. But Ohio State got some other running backs, especially in those fourth quarters, as we predicted, where Ohio State's going to win by more than 15 points.
Sure.
Got a pair of running backs behind them that can take some more carries. So I'll go over.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, the games are going to be shorter. So even if Ohio State puts in their second string sooner than they have in years past, that won't necessarily equate to more touches because the games are going to be shorter.
All right. Trey and Judd rushing yards combined at 2,375 and a half. That's a lot.
That's huge.
That's a lot.
That's near. I did the math on this earlier. I think it's nearly 200 yards a game. 237.6 divided by 12. 198 yards a game combined between the two of them.
I understand why he's saying that. If you go back to 2019, Jared.
Yeah.
I mean, that was when they just gave the ball to JK all the time.
Sure.
He had 301 carries in that game or in that year. And he had just over 2,000 yards. But Master Teague got the ball 135 times for 789 yards. Sure. So it's just shy of 2,800 yards. I can definitely see that. I mean, was that really the last time that Ohio State really had? Well, I guess Trey and Master Teague that year after were our two-headed beasts too. But we never really had a good pair since 2019 to really share the load that well.
Yeah,
so.
Again, though, like you have to go under on this just because if one of them misses a game, this is toasted.
Yep.
And again, less snaps this year. I think the number's too big. Had the number been 2,000, it had been like 1,999 and a half, I'd have been more enticed. But this number feels too big for me. I'm going under.
Yeah. Yep. Howard passing touchdowns at 28 and a half. That seems like a lot. I'm going to go under with that one.
I think it's a good. No, I disagree. I think it's a good number. If you look at the numbers, it's basically 2.5 touchdowns a game. Mm-hmm. If he averages 2.5 touchdowns a game, he gets this number. Some games he gets 2, some games he gets 3, and maybe against, your less talented teams, he might get 4 or 5 to help bolster those numbers. Now, it does need to be said that Austin specifically says passing yards here. This would be an easy over if it simply said Howard touchdowns.
Yes,
because I think there's a decent chance he rushes for 6 or 7 or 8 this year. So yeah,
I keep looking. Go ahead.
So, go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh no, I was just comparing in previous years, like your gunslingers that we've seen in previous years with CJ Stroud and Justin Fields. And Dwayne Haskins, they threw the ball all over, scored many touchdowns. But I keep going back to that 2015 year, and it's just amazing how little offense came out of that year. It's just ridiculous. 19 passing touchdowns that year.
That we have better offensive minds on the team this year. I'm not.
Yeah.
Let's not get hung up on 9 years ago.
But to go back with a lot of what we were talking about with Will Howard, not really expecting a lot from him there. I definitely think he'll get 25. I think 25 is kind of the number I'm thinking of for passing touchdowns. I think Ohio State's going to run all over, both with the running backs and with Howard. Going to see a ton of running yards, but
Gangland asks a good question. What about the JT 2017 offense? Which was JT's last year, yes?
Yeah.
18 was Howard, 19 was Fields.
Yeah, and he dominated. Yeah, he was really good that year. He was really good. Yes.
How many passing touchdowns? JT
35.
See, I
35 and 12 on the ground. He ended up 47 total touchdowns.
Yeah. I think I've been comparing Howard to JT Barrett a lot. I think Howard's a more competent passer now than JT Barrett was as a senior. And he has much better receiving targets. Now, granted, the games are going to be shorter this year. But I think 2.5 touchdowns a game is totally achievable. I'm going over here.
Campbell, JK, McLaurin, Dixon, Victor. That was a good group there. That's a good
absolutely.
Group.
Absolutely. But not as good as the group currently here.
All right. Jordan Hancock. Next one here. Pass breakups at 5.5. I picked the over on this one just because look at the other secondaries that the opposing quarterback's going to try to throw it to. Yeah. I think Hancock might be the biggest target there. So more targets towards him, more opportunities for pass breakups. That's my logic.
Yeah, and I just feel like this is an easy, not an easy number. Again, not that many snaps, shortened games, yada yada yada. All the things I've said about other individual defensive stats
last year. Last year we had 2 players that went over 5.5: Josh Proctor and Denzel Burke. 2 other players had 5. Iggy and Tyleik Williams Williams. Tyleik Williams had 5.
Yeah. Yes. Josh Proctor was still here last year. He had an excellent season.
He did.
Yeah, I just feel like it's an achievable number. It might be difficult. The short. I'm going under. I actually, per my notes, I'm changing this answer. Kyle going through the numbers, telling me only 3 defensive backs got hit this mark last year. Changed my mind. I'm going under.
All right, JT and Sawyer have a combined sacks of 18.5. Last year, you want to guess what they had last year combined?
Are you doing the entire season? Because Sawyer came on late in the postseason last year.
Oh, that is a very good point.
Yeah. A lot of the numbers you're looking at, Kyle, are with a bowl game and it would just be the bowl game, right? So it's only one extra game.
All right. I got it. All right. Guess what they had?
Not nearly this.
Not including the Missouri game. Not against Missouri. Not including it. Guess how many they had combined?
Significantly less than 18.5.
7.5.
Yeah. Now, granted, the secondary is going to be better.
Sawyer had 3 sacks against Missouri, and JT had a sack against Missouri as well. But other than that, JT had 4 sacks throughout the regular season, and Jack Sawyer had 3.5.
Teams don't let Ohio State get a bunch of sacks.
Yeah.
Straight up. They game plan for it.
Unless your last name is Bosa or Young.
Well, because of but teams totally changed how they played us because of Bosa and Young. That's the point. teams totally go watch any Big Ten game post Chase Young. No one in the Big Ten tries just like has their quarterback sit in the pocket. They either hit the pocket and it's gone in 2 seconds, or they're rolling the pocket. Teams simply don't sit in the pocket. Not Big Ten teams, at least, don't simply sit in the pocket against Ohio State. And again, reduce snaps, yada, yada, yada. I'm going under here.
This next one's interesting here because I keep going back and forth about this one.
Sam Darnold found out too. Yep.
Ohio State tackle leader tackles at 87.5. Ohio State kind of goes, like, looking at recent years, they kind of go up and lower the leader at that 87.5. So it kind of goes up and down. And it's not like it's a particular position or anything, because there's some years it's the linebacker. Other years it's the safety. Yeah. So I just think because of Ohio State defense is not going to get as many opportunities on the field there.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of 3 and outs or only 7 plays, not many opportunities. I got to go under. Here.
Gangland asks, specifically under Knowles, so that's only the past 3 seasons, who's been the tackle leader and how many tackles?
Right. So last year, 83 tackles was Steel Chambers.
Yep.
2022, Tommy Pickles Eichenberg had 120 tackles.
Yeah.
Again, this is total.
Yeah. I got you.
I'm not going to figure out. I'm not going to do the math on. Yeah. Ronnie Hickman had 98 in 2021.
So linebacker, safety. I feel like the tackles are going to be hyper spread out this year.
Yep.
So I'm going under here.
Under. Yep. All right. Going to move a little.
Okay. So linebackers and 21 Hickman was under Combs. No.
Okay.
No. Right?
No, 21 was Combs. Was it?
No. He's right. This is Knowles' third year. We're starting Knowles' third. He hasn't been here for 3 years. We're starting his third year. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. We're going to move through these a little bit quicker here, Jared. Ohio State punt, kickoff, return touchdowns set at 0.5.
It's finally going to happen this year, Kyle.
Why?
We're going over.
Give me a reason.
We're going to get a lot more punts. Forget about kickoffs. Ohio State's not going to get that many kickoffs, and the rules around kickoffs have been altered to the point that no one returns them in any great frequency anymore. Like, the rules are changed. They, the people who control the rules have decided that kickoffs are too dangerous. They're right. For the record, they're right. But we need to forget about kickoffs. We need to focus on punts.
This is
Ohio State's going to force a lot of punts this year. They're going to force a lot of long field punts. So not ones that sort of get popped up and they try and drop it in the 5. I think they're going to get a lot of long field punts, which will sometimes those get kicked a little bit more directly, which gives the returner more of a chance. And it's also just a shorter distance for the returner to then take it to the end zone. If you want a good opportunity to punt return, you want a dominant, no nonsense, 3 and out style defense, and that's what you have. That, and there's just a lot of skill on the team right now.
It's been 10 years. 10 years.
Yeah, I know. This is the year. We're due.
I'm going under. I'm going under.
Over under 1.5 seasons until they adopt the NFL's kickoff rules. I'm shocked that they haven't already. I'm going under. Now, it might not be implemented in 1.5 years, but they'll decide to implement it in under 1.5 years.
Right. Moving on here. Ohio State defensive touchdowns at 4.5.
It feels high.
Ohio State's done really well with defensive touchdowns.
Yeah. Reduced opportunity. I'm just going to say reduced opportunity under. I've already made my reduced opportunity argument like 20 times. I'm just going to say reduced opportunity under.
And I'm going to pick over. I'll pick over on this one here.
All right.
Ohio State longest field goal at 50.5. I'll say under.
I'm going to say over. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. We're only counting regular season, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to say under.
All right.
Getting those good weather and or dome games late in the season can really help this number. But if we're only counting the first 12 games, I'm going to go under.
All right, before we go to the next one, we're going to take our second ad break here. So yeah, blah, 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 blah. Join us over at Patreon, blah, blah, blah. All right, we'll be right back after this second commercial break.
All right, Kyle. What is the next question?
All right, Ibuka, receiving yards per game, averaging 78.5.
I like it. He's not going to get the ball 70, or he's not going to get 80 yards every game. But I think once you average it out in the end, I think this is totally achievable. So 78.5 times 12, 940. I feel like Emeka can get 1,000 yards this year. I feel like that's totally possible and totally achievable.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I'll go over. I'll go over as well. Offensive touchdowns by players not named Judkins, Henderson, Howard, Ibuka, Smith, and Tate. Set at 10.5.
Okay, so who do we have left? So he doesn't include Ennis, which I think is maybe an interesting omission. I think Ennis is good. I think Ennis is good for a few. He
or Tate.
He does it. Yeah, he does. He includes Tate.
Oh, he did. Sorry,
it's the last name.
The last one. Okay, so no Ennis, no tight ends.
So you get
no Devin.
Look
no
to get
Devin
maybe
Brown.
A couple combined touch. So if we say like 4 from Tate, combined 3 from Scott and Kickmerrick, that gets us up to 7.
You mean Ennis, not Tate?
Excuse me, Ennis. I meant yes, Ennis. Then let's say a combined 2 touchdowns from Rodgers or Antwi or any of the other like non-core top 4 wide receivers, or maybe one of the walk-ons or current walk-ons who are having really good camps.
Yeah. You want to know Ennis's career stats is at Ohio State?
It's not relevant. Well, this is his year.
No, it's just funny because he had his stat. Where was it? Was against Purdue. He has 1 catch for 58 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
So whenever he gets the ball, he scores, Jared.
I'm just saying, I think the 10.5 is very interesting because he excluded Ennis, who I think is good for 4 or 5. He doesn't include the tight ends. And if we just say the tight end position as a whole gets 3, then we're looking at, 3 or 4 even. So, we're looking at like 8 or so touchdowns from Innis and the tight ends. We get some junk time from running backs. I think 10.5 running touchdowns from any quarterbacks who aren't Howard. I think you can add to this list, and I think there's 1 or 2 available there. James Peoples touchdowns, Sam William Dixon touchdowns, again, maybe combined between those 2 might equal 2 or 3. But, you add 2 or 3 here, you add 4 here, you add 4 here, you add 1 or 2 here. I think we can hit that 10 mark. And then this number becomes way more achievable if any of these players get hurt. So this feels like a pretty easy over, in my opinion.
This is a great number, because my number I had was like 9.
Yeah.
So I'm going under with this one here, Jared.
All right.
All right. Scott catches 27.5. I'm sorry to say, Jared, but this is not the year of the tight end.
It is not.
I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I originally wrote over in the notes. I've changed my mind. I just don't even know necessarily how many snaps what's the snap share going to look like between Scott and Kick Merrick? I don't even feel like we know that answer right now. This is 2 1/3 catches per game. And like, we all know that Ohio State, minus last year, which was an anomaly, which was actually the year of the tight end, Ohio State can go a month just forgetting that their tight end exists. We've seen them do it in the past. I'm going to go under here. I feel like the number's like 23 personally.
The last 2 years wasn't over for that, but you had to go back to 2017 to get a tight end over that 27.5, and that was Marcus Ball.
Yeah,
in 2017. So yeah, I'm going to go under.
Yeah, the last player to hit this number, whose name isn't Cade Stover,
never got over that. Ruckert never got over that number.
Yeah.
All right. Cody Simon, tackle for losses 7.5.
I've already done my rant about individual defensive players and how their stats are going to be, from an individual perspective, down this year. Yeah, I'm sticking with that analysis. I think Ohio State's going to rack up a lot of tackle for losses this year. I just think it's going to be spread across a ton of players.
Yeah, I agree. I originally wrote over, but yeah, I don't know why I was thinking that. Yeah, I'm going to go under.
You hadn't heard me preach 1,000 times about the lack of opportunity for defensive players this year.
Sony Styles sacks plus forced fumbles plus interceptions all combined for 9.5. As much as I love Sony Styles, and he's going to be all over the field, all over. And with everything else that Jared just mentioned, I'm going under.
Yeah. Individual. If you'd have given me like tackle for losses as a 4th category here, I'd have taken it. But just these 3 categories, lack of opportunity, under.
All right. Where are we at? Here we go. Ohio State plays of 35 plus yards given up at 6.5. So over or under 6.5 times, Ohio State gives up 35 or more yards.
I think it'll be interesting to see what type of defense Knowles runs this year. His first year at Ohio State, he went very aggressive. He went very give them nothing, which led to a lot of big plays. At Ryan Day's direction, he switched things up last year, and he went a little more bend but don't break. This year, does he have the talent to do what he originally wanted to do, which is to go total rigid? Or is he going to stay a little bit back? You know, which Knowles defense are we going to get this year? You know, I think he wants to be aggressive. I think he wants to give teams nothing. But maybe he didn't have the personnel to do that in his first 2 years here. But now with like an elite pairing at safety and an elite cornerback trio, he feels a little bit more comfortable letting the linebackers and the defensive line play aggressively and just give the defense nothing. So I'm going to go under here. You know, Ohio State was really good at limiting big plays last year. Again, this is just through the first regular season games. So, you know, we don't have to worry about, you know, a Alabama, Georgia type team, you know, adding to this total in the playoffs. So yeah, I'm going to go under here. I feel pretty good about it. And again, this is where the reduced opportunity helps us.
Yeah, I'm going to go over, mainly because I think you're going to see a few of those be given up by the non-starters later in the game there.
That's a decent assessment.
Yeah. I'll go over because that's, I mean, if they can hold teams to 6 times or less, that's 35 yards or less. That is elite. That is elite level.
Well, 35 or more, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Ohio State final college football playoff rankings at 2.5. So they're their first or second in the final rankings here.
Now, the rankings meaning the playoff seeding, yes?
Yeah, yes. So...
And we're saying under, mathematically under, not ranking under, right? We're saying under equals 1 or 2 and over equals 3. Okay.
Correct. I mean, the Vegas... I mean, if this was Vegas, you should take the over. Like, this is... I got to pick the over there. Like, it's more likely that Ohio State will get third or higher than they would first or second. I mean, they have to run the tables, which they can. But I mean, we discussed it in one of our last week episodes about our predictions for the Big Ten and the national scope there. It's more likely that Ohio State will not get 1 or 2 in my mind.
I think they will. And I say this because I think that it's already been primed in the who's going to take it from them. Honest to God, even if Florida State runs the rest of the table, if you win the Big Ten, you're going to get first or second. Who else is going to do it? Utah, Clemson, Florida State, Boise, Memphis. What conference champions outside of the SEC? Because again, I feel like it's real chalk, real obvious to say the first seed and the second seed are going to be the Big Ten and the SEC. So who gets ahead? Who from the ACC or the Big 12 or Lord knows where else is going to get seated above an SEC or Big Ten champion? So to me, the question here is, does Ohio State win the Big Ten? And I'm saying yes.
All right. Fair enough. All right,
FSU would
Howard
be lucky
completion.
to go without 3 losses the way they looked this weekend. Yeah.
Howard completion percentage, 65.5%. Under.
Over.
Oh.
I said what I said.
All right. Trey Henderson averaging 6.25 yards per rush.
That feels big.
I'm going to go
Feels
over.
like a lot.
I'll go over.
I'm going to go under. It just feels like a lot. I feel like even if you get 5, you're amazing. It feels like a lot. That's it. It feels like a big number. I'm going under. Next up, Ohio State.
I was just trying to find what his average was last year, but go on.
Sacks allowed, 17.5. This feels like an over to me.
Sacks allowed. So Ohio State allowing more than 17 sacks for the year.
That is correct, sir.
I'm going to go under because like they're not going to expect Howard to be needing to make plays here. He's going to get the ball out quicker, or he's going to run the ball.
Well, the running of the ball.
I'm going to go under.
Sometimes the running of the ball leads to sacks. And while I do think this offensive line is going to be better this year than they were last year, I'm not going to swear that they're going to allow under 1.5 sacks per game, which is kind of what this number is. Well, I did by, let me do it again. 18 divided by 12. Yeah, that is in fact 1.5. So that's exactly 1.5 sacks per game. I'm going to go over on that. I think it's more like 2 per game.
Okay.
So 24.
Yeah. Recent years, does me well, favors me here. But then as soon as I go past CJ, go back beyond CJ's Stroud, doesn't look all that great, but I digress. We're going to move on. Phil Reese, Austin says that he is his GOAT. Tackles at 10.5.
Junk time tackles are what they will be. He's probably the third Will. Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks are probably 1A, 1B at the Will position. Averill Reese is third. We're looking at junk time but he's also going to play. Oh, actually, I may have just changed my mind because I bet he's going to be playing special teams.
I'm going to go under.
I'm going to go over. I changed my mind. Live on show. I forgot about special teams. He might get these numbers on special teams.
All right.
I'm going to go over.
Ohio State players with forced turnovers set at 12.5.
I didn't do my research on this one. That feels like a lot. Because you're essentially saying every single starter plus 2 more guys force a turnover.
I'm just looking real quick.
It feels like a lot.
Last year, it was 11.
Yeah.
Last year was 11. So, I'm going to go over. I'll go over.
Oh.
A lot of playmakers I know that kind of isn't on the same page as what we mentioned before, that they're not going to have as many opportunities for tackles, for making plays. But I just think this team is too talented to not cause a lot of turnovers here. So
it's just that
I'm going to take over.
13 individuals that need to do it. Sam Williams.
18. There was 18 players in 2021.
Okay.
Just going to say that 11
reduced
last year,
opportunity.
18. 11 last year and 18 before.
Reduced opportunity.
All right. Sam Williams Dixon touches at 15.5.
Touches?
Touches.
I feel like that's totally junk time achievable. I mean, it's touches, which...
Yeah.
It's the problem is that he's the fourth guy. So like maybe they look to redshirt him. That's the issue here. I'm going to go under only because I feel like Ohio State doesn't go to their third running back all that often, let alone their fourth running back. I know last couple of years have been different because of injury issues, but historically speaking, Ohio State doesn't go to their third, let alone their fourth running back all that much. And I think there's also going to be a lot of carries by quarterbacks this year. This is going to look more, I've said this a dozen times this offseason, this is going to look a little bit more like a Ryan Day, a little bit more like an Urban Meyer offense as opposed to a Ryan Day offense this year, I feel.
I'm changing mine. I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I'm going to go over here. Other than the 2020 year, which limited the number of plays, Ohio State's had 4, even 5 running backs with 15 or more carries. And every year, minus, I think you have to go back to 2017, other than the 2020 year. So I'm going to go over. If he's the fourth running back, yeah, I think 16 carries is definitely reasonable. I'll go over.
All right.
Tate catches. Tate with 42.5 catches. That's a lot. Yeah, 2020 doesn't count. Yeah.
That's a valid point.
That's a lot. 42.5. I mean, last year, other than Marvin Harrison, nobody got 43. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka were neck and neck in 2022. And the year before that, we just had a 3-headed monster with JSN, Wilson, and Olave. It's tough. It's tough. Are we going to have that 2021 year where we're going to have the ball spread out that much among the 4 or 5 receivers here? It's tough. That's why I got under. I mean, I could totally see this and I'd be ecstatic for Tate to get over 42 catches here, but my gut says under for this one.
Okay.
What say you?
I'm going over. This is essentially 3.5 per game. So I feel like that's achievable. I don't feel like with Marvin Harrison Jr. last year, like basically that's sometimes between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Cade Stover. I feel like that was the only people on the field that McCord was able to find. I don't feel like it's going to be quite so singular this year. So I'm going to go, I feel like it's spread a little bit more. I'm going to go over.
All right.
Guys were open a lot last year, but the responsible for delivering, it wasn't very capable. I agree.
All right. I'm going to finish these real quick here. So Tyreek and Hamilton tackles combined at 97.5. That's a lot.
Feels like a lot. That's, obviously like nearly 50 a piece. Feels like a reduced opportunity under.
Last year, Jared, they had, you'll be surprised to hear this, at 95 last year.
Yeah. I don't think this was
I got under as well.
yeah, it's just reduced. I think there's again going to be reduced opportunity this year. Did you, Brandon Ennis question you skipped?
I did. Sorry. Brandon Ennis, 27.5 touches. I got under for that one. Same reasons as the Tate one before.
I'm going to go over. I think he's going to be more involved than people are giving him credit for.
All right.
Ennis would be an easy way to work. Would be an easy way to work into the run game, sweeps, etc. I totally agree.
Receivers with 100 plus yards against Ohio State at 3.5.
Under.
Guess how many there was last year?
During the regular season specifically, because I feel like Missouri had maybe one or two. No, none.
Missouri had 0.
Okay. Zero. I'm gonna say 0.
That is correct.
All right. Yeah, secondary is too strong this year, going under.
Yeah, because I looked at every game. Went to the box score, see who had the most yardage there. By the way, so Missouri only had that one guy had one catch for 50 yards, and the other guy had 43 yards, so not even close. I think the closest that I saw, I think it was Youngstown State. Youngstown State had no, it wasn't. Maybe it was Notre Dame. They had, I forget. There was two games where they had a player that had like in the 80s. It was like 88 yards or something like that. There was two games. So, it was Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky had a kid, Corley, 8 yards, eight catches for 88 yards, and I think the Michigan game, there was a guy there that had in the 80. Oh, the Loveland had 88 yards in that game.
Technically, well. not well. He's a receiver. He's not a wide receiver, but he's a receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, you're all right. Yeah, Western Kentucky did throw the ball quite a bit. Actually, they actually didn't throw it 50 times. They only threw it 37 times. But anyway, getting sidetracked. Next one here. I'm going under for that one. Ohio State rushing yards per game, 231.5 yards per game. That is a huge leap up compared to what they've done in recent years.
But I like it.
Huge.
I'm going over. Because I remember when I said before, because what was the combined he had for Judkins and Trey? 2375. 2375 divided by 12 was essentially 200 yards per game. But here's the thing. I think we're going to see
go back
a
to
lot.
2019, since Ohio State had that kind of success.
You have the best running back duo that Ohio State has had ever. And we are going to be bringing back the read option this year. We have a running quarterback this year. We have 2 running quarterbacks this year, if you include Devin Brown. I think you're going to see a team that is going to be, again, much more of an Urban Meyer team than a Ryan Day team. And
Ryan Day, other than his first year as head coach at Ohio State, other than that one, Ohio State wasn't even close to being 200 yards a game on average under Ryan Day, other than his first year. 2021, it was 180. 2022 was 190. I guess I was closer. And last year, Ohio State averaged 138 yards on the ground.
Last year sucked in a lot of different ways. But Yeah.
I'm going under.
I'm going over. I think they hit this.
All right.
It's a big number.
And
I acknowledge, but I think they hit it.
Yep. And the last one, dams we give for the whole state of Michigan.
Over under 0.5.
Yes.
And of course, we are going under. Kyle.
As is tradition.
As is tradition. That is the end of today's show. Do you have anything in Kyle's Corner?
I do not, because the crew, they just finished.
There you go.
There we go. The crew are your League Cup champions for the first time in club history, after defeating LA FC and the championship there.
Yes. Now this is not the MLS.
Deja vu from last year, where they beat LAFC for the MLS championship.
Yes. Kyle, if we
they
weren't,
must have scored 2 quick goals just recently, because it was like well into the second half, and I saw that the crew or the LA tied it 1-1, and they scored 2 in extra time. There it is.
Kyle, if we weren't 11 minutes over, I would ask you to explain to everyone what the difference is between an MLS Cup and a League Cup, but I guess they're just going to have to Google it, because...
Just Google it. Yep.
Because we're already over. Kyle, is that it for Kyle's Corner?
That's it.
Tonight's ending music is brought to you by a Columbus-based band called Superdestroyer. That is all one word, Superdestroyer. And with that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Superdestroyer.